Hey, welcome back to another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan, where we have good conversations with good people, and any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk. Cheers, good buddy.
Cheers.
Good to see you. Glad to see
Mhm.
you're having a drink with me once again.
Well, I finished the bottle, so it's kind of it might be a big pour.
It's a
Um,
heavy pour.
yeah, it's a heavy pour. I was like, yeah, it'll be good. And then I dumped it and I was like, oh shit. Story productivity for the rest of the day.
Right? And sorry,
Right?
Ashley, but oh well.
Yeah. I'll be fine.
She'll get over it. We got a great show lined up for today. We've got Josh and Shauna Brown from Lubbock, Texas. They run On the Double Heating and Cooling. They're an HVAC service company down there in Texas. They've been around the trades for a very long time. Established a business in 2012, and are having their best year ever since going through a rebrand this last little bit. So I'm excited for the conversation, the lessons that they've learned. You've had some cool conversations with them as well, and some of the things that they've had to overcome to have this year that they've had. And truly, I think the best is yet to come still for them, especially going through what they had to go overcome this year. So it'll be a good conversation this year.
Right. And it's exactly it. I mean, and look, we all have challenges and problems in life. You talk to any single person, they all have their own shit. Some people's shit's just different than yours. And some of it's bigger, some of it's smaller. But having to overcome challenges is really what defines us and defines our character, and it's define them and their character and what they're going to be able to continue to build with their business. So gonna be fantastic. I really would like to unpack those moments with inside the show. But of course, our show would not be possible without our sponsors. CHIIRP, Real-Time 360, and On Purpose Media, and in no particular order. CHIIRP. Hey, look, you know what? We're into slow season or shoulder season, as some people want to call it. When shoulder season shouldn't be slow. And so, if you wanted to be like Dave and added, 42,000 in revenue in his first month in shoulder season, Cassie also added $80,000 in revenue in 14 days in shoulder season, both with CHIIRP. So CHIIRP is an ultimate automation toolbox. It's mainly done via rehash. They have text messages, ringless voicemails. The list goes on and on and on. Just do yourself a favor. Go check them out. Get 25% off your first 3 months. CHIIRP.com/HSSR.
Love it. And once you've got those clients starting to come into the business, well, first you need to make sure that you're getting a hold of them. And that's where marketing comes in. Real-time 360. Are you tired of juggling marketing tools and agencies owning all of your logins? Say goodbye to those frustrations. Take control of your marketing. Take back the reins with Real-Time 360. You can streamline your reviews, automate your socials, engage customers with live chat, and more importantly, track all of your success all in one place. Join the revolution, empower your success with Real-Time 360. You can check them out at realtime360.io. And the new app is now available in the Apple Marketplace, App Store, whatever the fuck it is. I use Android, so.
Right. Let's not go down that hole, because our team that's listening knows the gift that I usually send when somebody says they're on an Apple or a Mac product. So, anyways, it's kind of funny. And of course, On Purpose Media, they are your local home service marketing experts with a flair for HVAC. We'll talk about us a little bit later. That's our company, by the way. We do marketing. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, in the words, I was just about to say that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
Hey guys.
Oh, Shauna, what's going on?
Oh, hi there.
Hi, how are you guys?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. I appreciate it a lot.
We're excited.
Is the sound kind of screwing up there on your end?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit slow. It's a little delayed. So
Got it. Okay, cool.
Never
Why don't you go ahead and share? That's really delayed. Okay.
I tried adjusting the settings, so we will see if that works. And if not, then it's supposed to have auto echo and auto noise cancellation or background noise. So it might just eliminate you guys from talking. So hopefully not.
Okay.
There we go. All right. I think it sounds better now. Well, why don't you guys go ahead and walk us through your journey into the trades, how you got to the place where you're at now and running the business, and I guess everything up until today, because it's been a hell of a journey so far.
So I'm from Southern Arizona. Fell in love with the Texan. Moved to Texas for this gal, and was going to college and started working for her father, who has owned a HVAC business for 40 years now. And it's her father and her uncle. And got into it and really enjoyed it. I'm a son of a builder, so I've always been in construction. So I've always had a knack for it. We moved from her hometown, San Angelo, to Lubbock, Texas, back in 2010. And kind of knew I always wanted to start my own thing. And her dad was a good influence on me. It was kind of too much family, so we wanted to start our own thing. And so we moved up to Lubbock for better opportunities. And then we built a home, and I told the contractor, I'm putting in my own AC. He said, that's fine. After that, he's like, why don't you get your license and do my houses nights and weekends? So first few years was kind of just for fun money, new construction.
Because we were working for other companies at the time.
Right.
So
Right.
not our own.
Yeah. And then by 2016, 17, it kind of blossomed into full time. I was just getting too much clientele and said, I just need to jump off the deep end and, run it full time.
Love it. So it all started with side
And then
gigs.
since
And
then,
then
it's just. Yeah, and I think that's really common among contractors. They get into it. They think they can do it on their own, or there's something. For us, it was more of the passion that we wanted to do something better. We knew there could be better. There could be better customer service. There could be better service, quality service, and that kind of thing. And we felt there was a lack of that in our community, and that's really was the driver to pursue that passion of
And then
service.
And then it's continuing to be the driver to grow, because the bigger we are, the more people that we can help give that quality service.
Yeah.
So that's our drive. And then now we've learned the last couple of years, our main drive is the people that work for us, to see them succeed. We had a guy hit his 5th year. We sent him on a cruise. He bought his first house, and it's really helping change his life. And that's the most rewarding thing to me now. And I want to do more of that. So
yeah,
that's why we do what we do.
But we started from scratch. Neither of us had. So my dad owning. Go ahead.
No, keep going.
Oh, my dad had. I was raised around the heating and air conditioning industry. I wasn't super involved because I had 2 brothers, and it was just more of especially growing up, a male-dominated industry. And so I got some exposure to it, but mostly just the customer service side, the owning a small business exposure and that kind of thing. And so that was just really ingrained in me, just the quality of service. He would say, your word is your bond, Shauna. You stick to your word. You do what you're going to say. You do it right. You make it right all the time. So all these things that were the foundation of just who we were and how we were raised. And Josh had a similar upbringing to that. And so that was exposure there, but they always did it. I mean, they were very old school heating and air conditioning in a small West Texas town. It's changed drastically. Our industry has changed drastically, even just the years that we've been involved. And so, like Josh said, we really started in 2016. I mean, I don't think we had a decent CRM until probably 2017, 2018. I mean, we were still doing things very kind of antiquated. We did not know. We hadn't been exposed to anything. We didn't work for large companies that were more forward thinking. So we literally just have done all of this from scratch without, exposure.
My first year, 2016, I was still just had a invoice pamphlet, and it was carbon copy. And that was my ticket to them. I actually still have that original book. It's pretty cool to look look back and see what I was charging and charge it now, and I'm just like, man, things have changed so much.
Yeah, rapidly in 5 to 6 years, like just dramatic change, you know. Yeah.
So
Right.
how
So
did growing up
That's where
in
we
the
are now.
trades? Yeah, I'm curious how growing up in the trades, Josh with construction, Shauna with growing up in an HVAC business, how did that frame what you thought running a business was going to look like?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Man, on our end, I think I can say this for Shauna too. Growing up as kids, riding in the truck with our dads, we'd be driving through a neighborhood and be like, yeah, see that room right there? I installed that. And there was a sense of pride. And then when our dads would, and I'm in a completely different town, so was she, but it's similar situations, similar occurrences where our dads would go into a place and they'd be like, hey, Mr. Huffman, how are you? And there was that neat feeling of, man, this guy's serving the community. He's helping these people and they know who my dad is. And so there's a neat connection there of your local area, of your people, of giving that service. And so I think growing up as a kid, that kind of was a cool thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone, I come from a city of probably 90,000 people. And so my dad ran that company for almost 50 years, or let's see, 40-ish years, And so you can imagine everywhere we went, he knew someone, or we would run into someone or that he had worked with. And it was always a positive experience. So we had a good name in the community and there was pride in that. But he also taught us that, because I have two siblings, brothers, he taught us really good work ethic. My mother too, both of them together. They didn't run the business together, but still we learned really, really strong work ethic. And really, we say this in our business all the time now, that we're in a customer service business. We just happen to do heating and air conditioning because that's truly where our core comes from. That exposure in those businesses is that it is truly about the customer service. It's about the customer. It's about the customer service. And like Josh mentioned, it's about our people. And if our people are happy, then our customers are happy. We just happen to do this thing that they need, which is heating and air conditioning. And we're pretty good at that too.
Right.
But
it almost sounds like something from Simon Sinek. It almost sounds like something from Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek, start with why. I wrote that down earlier. And what's your why? And then you guys answered it on the why, on really doing things for your people. And when you have that customer, and your people are obviously your customers, which is great. So, one thing I'm curious on, and kind of going back, and I mean, I'm going to get to Joe Lacido's question. Sorry, I butchered your last name, Joe, in a bit, but you had no experience, right? You were working on, side jobs and doing it to use the term chucking a truck, to running a business. That's a big jump for a lot of people, right? And especially because people don't generally have a ton of business experience. So if you were to look back during that time and when you made that jump from, obviously going into the trades and then from being in the truck to wanting to run and establish a successful business, if you're to give that same advice to somebody who's doing the exact same thing right now, what would you tell them?
The first thing, and I've told other guys this before, and I ask them, are you doing a really good job? Are you doing as good or as better as your competitors? If the answer is yes, then the next question is, are you charging more than your competitors because you're doing a better job? If someone would have went down and said, Josh, raise your prices more, charge for your service that you're providing, actually understand your value in what you're doing. If I would have started charging my true value from the get-go, I would have been so much further ahead. That's number one. Understand your value in your service that you're providing. That would be number one, bar none. That'd be the first thing anyway. That I would tell them.
But now, oh my gosh, I would say, I don't know. this is kind of a Pandora's box, if you will. I say get on the internet, right? Get on Facebook or whatever, join some groups, learn some things. However, that can be dangerous too, because who do you trust? Who do you know? Because there's a little bit too much of it as well. So, the relationships that over the last, I would say since 2019 for me, have been like, that's become invaluable to us, being exposed to so much more through social media, through the conferences, through the different shows and things like that. But we started going to shows in probably 2016, 2017. Service World Expo, I think, is when they first started. And that was really kind of a new thing, to have those shows like that where you could go and you would do all the breakout sessions, and those things helped us expose us to what is out there, what technologies are out there, what's new, but I don't think, I think everybody just like weight loss, you're looking for the silver bullet. And there is no silver bullet. In any industry, you have to put the work in. It's, and everyone's different. You have to figure out what you want, I think there's so many, are you more of a lifestyle business owner, or are you wanting to is it all about money? Is it more about lifestyle? Those are, I think, decisions you have to make in the beginning as well, because that's going to free what your business looks like and how fast you grow. And
it's going to frame your culture too.
Absolutely.
The owner really has to sit down and decide what does this need to look like. That would have been a smart thing to do too. Not just shooting blind and just kind of guessing, well, I'll just see how this thing turns out. No, just sit down and actually make goals. How many employees in how many years or in how many months, we've
done a lot of that backwards, and I think we're not alone in this. We learn things the hard way. We take longer to do things. It's easy for us to say in hindsight we should have, and I think many people experience the same thing. If we could go back, we would have done it this way, but we have no regrets. Where we're at, because now we go to these events, and we've made so many friends, and we meet people just like us who were 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, and we love it. We love to talk to them, and if we can help them and share with them, and then they start messaging us and stuff, and it's nice to be able to share those experiences and help in whatever way we can.
No, and it's super powerful when you can be able to share that, right? And like the big thing about your pricing, when I think about that, if more people were to not necessarily transparent on like your back end and on your price book and all those sorts of things, but charging what you're worth, right? Now we wouldn't have the race to the bottom folks out there that are undercutting everywhere and doing shitty work, right? And so they would just understand that a little bit more. So I guess, fast forward. So, Josh has jumped in full time. At what point, Stephanie, did you, or Shauna, sorry, I don't know why I said Stephanie, Shauna. It's because I was thinking about the pastels. That's probably why, because they were chiming in on here. So they said big fans of this was them. That was them. Love these people, built from the ground up. So that's why I was thinking about that. So I'm just filled with errors today. It's okay. Chalk that one up on my second forced error. Unforced, actually. So fast forward. Josh, you're in full time. Shauna, now you're about to make that leap into the business. At what point did you come in full time into the business?
2017-ish, right? Or
2017 into 2018. I think 2018 really full time.
Yeah.
I was literally one chuck in a truck. I was the receptionist, the dispatcher, the CSR, the billing, the everything, and I just started to get to the point. I'm like, all right, I need some help, and who better than my wife to help me? And it may not be husband and wife relationships, but I would say for the women in HVAC, every really big and successful HVAC company, pretty much guarantee you there's a really smart woman behind it, one way or another. And if I hadn't brought her on, I would be half the size that I am. And so I I cannot support the women in HVAC enough because they're just smarter than we are. It's just the way it is. I personally feel that.
Yeah, it's complementary skill sets, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right,
complementary
yeah.
skill sets.
So I didn't. Yeah, and I didn't come from doing nothing. So we both worked, for years, and I actually helped build and develop 3 other small businesses before this, or 2 others before this one. And so from the ground up, in completely different industries, but small business is it's still very similar in that the customer service and all of those back end things that you have to do with the bookkeeping and the compliance with the state and nationally and all of that kind of thing. And so I had come from a couple of different industries doing that. One, I was a finance manager for a car dealership. I have helped build from the ground up. And then I helped build, did all the sales and marketing and business development for a high-end photography studio. And so, and was a part owner in that, sold my portion of that, and then we moved on. But so I had some background there. However, we also threw some kids in the mix in there. So, at that point in 2018, I had a 2-year-old. I think she was maybe 2. Yeah, 2 at the time.
2016.
So, I eased into the business. I wasn't completely full time, and then it just became more and more and more and more. And then we were side by side together all day long, every day. Working and raising children, and we're here alone in Lubbock, Texas, so we don't have any help. It's either him or I who has the kids. And so, I mean, we've developed some friendships and stuff, but as far as family goes, we don't have that. It's been good for us, though. It's been really good for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, it challenges you in ways that are different than anybody would expect. And like the saying is, it takes a village to raise a family, and it really does. In absence of that village, it becomes potentially strenuous on a relationship. Now, I want to get into Joe's question. Can you ask them what's the best advice they have for how to make a husband and wife team work? And really unpacking that, because again, if you're on your own, there's no village. I mean, obviously, you developed a lot of that, and so there's not maybe as strong of a support system at home. Now you're also working together in the business, and there's a lot of time spent with each other. How do you go about navigating and managing that as a couple to make sure the relationship stays strong?
We learned from some counsel that it was really smart to almost have a light switch, like in dedicated time when you go home. Nope, we're not talking about work. It's done. It's either kids, family, or talking about some future trip we may take or something fun. You have to be able to shut it off some. I don't care how ambitious you are and you want to be a machine 24/7. It's not realistic, especially in a marriage. In a marriage, you can't run that 24/7 machine, constant business all the time. You have to set a time for yourselves outside of the business. Let's pretend we don't work together. The switch is off. We don't know what on the double is. We don't know about heating and air conditioning. Let's sit and watch Peaky Blinders or whatever. Shut it off, get it out, and still have that relationship outside of this business. If you don't do that, man, it consumes you and you become obsessive, and it can cause all kinds of issues.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, if we did have something pressing, that was our agreement, okay, I've got these 3 things I really need to touch base with you on. We have 10 minutes, and it was kind of like a meeting, and then it was done. So that was just something that we were advised to do early on, and we've done that. And it's been a huge tool for us to stay connected or just separated from it. It can't be, that's why I was saying earlier, you have to decide whether this is a lifestyle thing, or like Josh saying, are you really ambitious and you're 24/7? That's all you think about all the time. you have to decide which those, so for us, family is super important. Our marriage is super important to us. Our kids are enormously important to us. So we are more of a lifestyle, if you will, business where we have that balance.
And I'm not saying it's bad to do that, let's turn it on 24/7 thing, but don't do it without setting a goal first. Like, don't just keep grinding all day long, every day for years. You're going to wear yourself out, and your quality of work is going to go down, and you're going to defeat the purpose of why you originally started to do this. And that was to help people and give them a good service. Mm-hmm. So don't fight against the original reason why you wanted to start your business.
Yeah. And I think another thing to answer that question is that we really divided responsibilities. So what this is, the things that were in my wheelhouse that I was really good at, and the things that Josh is really good at, we keep those separate. I don't really get involved in a lot. I mean, we advise each other and we talk to each other about a lot of things, but really I have my things that he doesn't even really worry about. It just gets taken care of. And vice versa. And so of course his is more in the field, more the guys and the technical side and the training, all of that. The part that I know plenty for a female about HVAC, but still, it's just, I don't even try to, I'm more focused on training the CSRs and the customer service and the marketing and the numbers and the bookkeeping and the bills and all of those things, and staying on top of that more administrative stuff rather. And then he's more on that other side. So that was something that we've really helped us. We don't really argue about any of that stuff anymore. I mean, I think
here's
where the truth comes out. Okay.
I know I said anymore.
Well, when she first came in and really started to go full time, she'd start looking at my processes and start looking at my sales. And she'd be like, "Josh, I think your sales suck." I'm like, what do you mean? I think I'm fine. No, it's good. So it's pretty bad. And it was, to a certain degree, it was, So I think sometimes you do have to step on each other's toes a little bit, and then you have to step out of your shoes and say, okay, let me listen to my significant other, my wife or my husband. What are they advising? Let's try this out. Be willing to open up a little and be vulnerable to try something that's out of your comfort zone. It's just like, you need to go see this guy, Victor Rancourt, 4 years ago in California.
Well, with Joe Cressara was the first one that I was like, really think you need to go to this Joe Cressara training. I think you're really great at sales. That's what I said. But I think you could be so much better.
You could be better.
Which he took as, you suck.
Which I took as, you suck at sales. But
I really think there's these people out here who have really fine-tuned this, and I think they match who you are as your character and your, genuine.
But, going out and meeting Victor and seeing his process, and going and meeting Joe, did that help our business? Absolutely. If I wouldn't been able to want to be vulnerable, we wouldn't have had we would still be stuck at $500,000. We really would. We wouldn't,
like one or two people
not really growing. You have to make change and become vulnerable to entice growth, because if you don't keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results. We've all heard that 1,000 times. Well, it's real. It just is. So.
Yep. Well, like we said before, we just haven't been exposed to anything else other than what we were building on our own, and so until we got out there and saw some things, and still, like, we have some companies that we're going to go visit and tour because we're excited to see what other people are doing. We're just out here in West Texas, we didn't know that there was really, not that anything greater, or like, I don't know, you just don't know what you could be
Totally.
doing.
I'm curious on this divided responsibilities aspect of things and where the autonomy lies and how much autonomy you give each other to make decisions on your specialty. And then at what point does the other person step in, like you did, Shauna, and almost have that accountability side of it where it's like, hey, I think we could improve here. What are your thoughts? And like, how do you pose those questions without overstepping the bounds of that autonomy that you've given each other for your departments?
Well, I mean, we are still husband and wife, so we just got, hey, I've got this idea. I mean, who can hold my feet? Who can hold my feet to the fire and vice versa? Because we are the owners. So we don't have anyone above us who can say, hey, we are each other's accountability. And so if he says, you know, in order for me to sell better, I really need some really good financing. So that's where my wheelhouse is. So I go out and I research these companies and find, you know, the best financing companies, and then get the training put together and whatnot. And so that's how we, you know, he's asking, he voices his needs in that thing, and then I go find it if that's my specialization or my area, and vice versa. So, but as far as like, I don't think we walk on eggshells with each other. I mean, it's kind of,
it's like kind of like a quid pro quo thing. Did I say that right? You know, she comes to me, I think your sales is terrible. And I'm like, okay. Then I go and then I say, okay, well, help me with this. So you have to come to a middle ground of supporting each other in that thing that you may see a weakness in. For instance, like she does a lot of the marketing stuff. And, you know, I do have to be a little careful sometimes. Hey, let's try this, or what do you think about it? Or she'll come with me with something. And, you know, a lot of times you do have to just try stuff and see if it works or doesn't work. I think respecting one another and not blaming each other. Well, this didn't really work. You know, it's all your fault. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, don't do that.
There's a lot of trust, I think, in both sides. We both have a lot of confidence. We've built that confidence through those experiences too. Like, I don't really know a lot about the sales process, truly. Like, I mean, I observed some things, but they're the ones that are implementing. They're the ones that are training it to our employees. And they're the ones who are making sure that that's happening out in the field. I don't meddle in that very much because that's their thing. That's what they're really good at. And I say there because we have a team of other people involved in that as well. And the only reason I would get involved is if on the numbers side, something changed. And then I would say, hey, that's usually where it comes in. It's like, I'm observing here, you know, maybe through the marketing, I look through, you know, we go over the numbers at the end of the month for marketing. And I'm saying, oh my gosh, I saw this dip for this and this. We were running this. What happened here? And then he's able to say, okay, here's where I need to improve this thing. So we're really just giving each other suggestions because we're seeing different things. I think it balances it out really well. I'm hoping that's answering your question.
Yeah.
What you were asking.
This is a segue into what would be my number 2 advice. And I've been horrific at it, knowing your numbers and reporting. And like we pulled out a ROI of 16 different categories, and we sat down with our leadership. So our service manager, office admin, and Shauna and I, and we sat and we went through it, and we decided, okay, where are we weak in? What do we need to go back to and revisit and to improve? Or where are we failing? Just go by the numbers, and it's not like you're trying to point someone out and say you're doing a terrible job in this one thing. It's how can we make this better as a team? That's where our approach has been and more focused. But you can't do that very well if you don't know your numbers. So have a good platform that can do that.
That's what I was about to say. I think
helps.
You know, you go to all these things where everybody's always saying, know your numbers, know your numbers, know your numbers. And it's like, well, how the hell do I know my numbers? Like, You know, I've got to have the tools to do it. I've got to learn how to do it. I've got somebody show me. You know, we don't know things. We don't just know this stuff. And so that's been a long journey. And so we've had to bring in certain people to help us with that software to, you know, and make sure that we're putting all of that in correctly. And so it's a major learning curve. It's not simple. I think people make it so easy, or comes across as when just people say, know your numbers. And while yes, you need to, it's not that easy to figure out. It just isn't. And I just want to say that to people who are struggling with it. Don't think that everybody just knows these great numbers and figures it out really quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
Everybody's market's different too. So
yeah.
100%. And I'm curious then. So for you, as you got into that journey of understanding your numbers, we'll get to the random question after this, but what numbers do you feel like are the most important that you needed to know? And how did you begin to set benchmarks for yourself for what those numbers should be?
Well, you almost have to build it backwards. To me, the most important thing is, you know, what is your daily operating cost? How much do you have to earn that day to pay the bills? What do we have to hit that day? Then the next question is, you know, what do you want your net to be by the end of the year? How much more do you have to make each day to hit those numbers? Then you take those numbers and you can decide, okay, then you can start budgeting. Can we get another van? Can we hire another tech? Can we start expanding? Can we buy a commercial building? It all starts from your actual cost of overhead and everything. And then you go from there and you build, and if you don't do that and you have negative day after negative day after negative day, well, before long, you're gonna have to shut the doors because you're not making any money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't start that, you're going to be asking for help. And there's some companies that have to do that, and that's okay. If you've messed up and you need help, ask for help and get it and get back on top if you can. So that would be my.
Well, you were saying reverse engineer it, and I was just going to add to that. So, you know, when you reverse engineer those numbers, then you can figure out how many people it's going to take, you know, how many technicians, how many installs, how many, you can then figure out those numbers, how many, vans do you need on the road to meet those goals that you're trying to get to. And that's helped us tremendously, knowing who to hire next or how many people we need to do that. And then, of course, then you've got to bring in the marketing aspect because you've got to have the volume to fulfill those needs. And then, of course, you've got to convert. You've got to convert all those leads. So, I mean, it's a lot, you know, just because you have, and even if you just have that plan in mind, yes, of course, you've got to have the numbers, you've got to have the plan. Then you, of course, you have to execute it and you've got to do a good job at it. Mm-hmm. There's so much more to it, right? Like there's so many moving parts.
It's not as simple as one person thinks, but even like that, you know, just reaching out and asking for help. And I think if more people were to say, hey, I need help with whatever the topic is, right? Put your ego aside and just ask the questions, because when you do that, now you're going to be able to get the answers of what you need, right? Which is super powerful. So, all right, not to take away from that, because that's a great topic, and I'm sure we could probably go deeper on that, but I'd be remiss if we didn't get the random question generator into the show. And it's brought to you by On Purpose Media. So when your content is colder than a snowman, we bring the heat. So I like that. I love watching Stacy. She's our content extraordinaire on the bottom. Whenever I read it, her laughter astounds me. And so, but we are your local marketing experts for HVAC and home services. And hey, look, if you're ever wondering, hey, is my marketing on pace or is it not? Well, hit us up on purposemedia.ca/marketing-analysis. We'll take a no obligation complimentary look through your stuff to make sure that it is on point for you. So we're going to tell you a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Well, you get to choose 1, 2, 3, or 4, and we're going to read off the question on which one you choose. But who wants to go first, David or Shauna? God, Josh or Shauna? Why do I keep mixing up the pastels into this?
Hey, you're like a really good person. So
where are you think going in West Texas?
Yeah,
you
and
can call us.
Yeah,
It's an honor to be called Dave.
Right.
Hey, you know
Some
what?
of our
He
favorite
just
people.
I don't know what happened there. But
So
yeah,
what number?
I feel so no, I feel so
I'm gonna
just
go
I
first.
feel so bad when I mix up people's names because like I have a name Thaddeus and like it is I hear it nonstop my entire life, like all the time. And so like I always want to make sure that I get people's names right. But for whatever reason, I am struggling today. So my sincere apologies to the both of you. For whatever reason, I just can't figure my life out. So anyways,
We're all still
Josh,
doing that.
yeah, Josh or Shauna,
All right.
who wants to go first?
Shauna can.
All right.
All right.
3.
3. If you were a potato, how would you like to be cooked?
Cooked. Oh my. Okay. I was a potato.
First
how
answer
would I
that
like
pops
to
into your
cook?
mind.
Au gratin. I don't know. Au gratin style, which is like sliced and covered in cheese. It's
There you
delicious.
go.
That's cool.
That sounds actually delicious. I think we might have to do that for supper. So, all right, Josh, how about yourself? 1, 2, or 4? Because 3 was already taken.
I was gonna say 3. I'll take 1.
Do you have any strange or unique talents?
I think this might be one of them.
We love you too, Victor.
So
For those of you that are just listening to this,
I-
Victor and Kurt commented on the show, wish Josh was still in his Halloween drag. So
They have this like weird bromance thing. It's really funny.
yeah. So I sent him a picture. My office admin and myself, we decided to dress. So she decided to dress just like Rusty, our service manager. He has a red beard, so she got a red beard and a bald cap because he's bald. And then I dressed like her sister, our dispatcher. And I was a very ugly woman. But I wore clothes that she always wears, like these yoga pants, and she always wears a flannel, and so I had all that. I nailed it. So
Yeah.
Now I kind of want to see a photo.
I'll send you
I'll
one.
send it to you. My hidden talent is that it's still very hidden. I do the dad jokes. I'm sorry, but I don't know. I haven't found it yet.
it's that well
Just answer
hidden. There you
no.
go.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, apparently it's not dressing in drag. So
Right. All right. Well, let's.
It's not my talent.
Not your talent. Perfect. So fast forwarding now. And I know we kind of hinted and alluded to this a little bit. She's like, yeah, get out of this. You guys went through a pretty cataclysmic shift in the business, this year, and having to essentially, take a step back, yourself, Shauna, from where you guys were at, and kind of just relook and reassess and, do those sorts of things. So, walk us through what happened. I mean, obviously with the caveat of what you wanted to go into, but how that impacted the business too.
Yeah. So, I mean, like we had mentioned before, I've been very, very involved with the business for the last few years, of course, and, and raising kids and all the things. And I have an autoimmune issue that has been around. Well, we discovered probably in 2016. And, I mean, some really major health stuff. I had a stroke, actually, like that. It triggered a stroke, which I'm not in harm's way of any longer, but that was in 2016. And we had a 7-month-old baby at the time.
That was the same year we started our company full time.
Yeah. So that was a rough time. And we went through that and recovered and changed lifestyle changes and health changes and stuff. And things got really good. But I started really, and I think this is very common. I started neglecting that the last couple of years. Life was just so full with the kids, with the business, and I knew it. And better, but you think, oh, I'm good. My body's fine. Like, I got the handle on this. And last year was just, we rebranded, we renamed our company, we switched softwares, we were just slammed. We had a change in our team changed. We brought people on. We were just, I mean, we have a junior high kid. I mean, I don't know if anybody, but once your kid gets into junior high, like things change and you're so much more busy for some reason in addition. And just, it came to a head at the end of the year. And basically my body said no more. And we knew that, like, after having experienced what we'd experienced before, that this was not something we could take lightly. Like, you can't ignore that. Didn't want something major to really happen and transpire. And I wasn't well. And so I had to take a major, literally major step away from the company. And we just had to pivot. And I think that's, as business owners, you pivot every day. Sometimes those are really major things. If you lose a major, a manager or something like that. I mean, obviously a business owner is a pretty big spot. And there was those responsibilities, but I just had to step back, and everybody, it was just beautiful. Actually, it's been a really beautiful thing. You don't know what to expect in those situations, but everybody just picked up the slack. Josh really stepped up. Not that he wasn't, but he had to step up even more, and to let me step back. And then we didn't know what that was going to look like. We didn't really expect it to be a permanent thing, and it's kind of become a permanent thing. I work from home now. I come in a lot less. I do come in some. I'm very available by phone and email and all of that kind of stuff, but I just have shifted to focusing on my health, because what do you have without that, really? Mm-hmm. And it's just been, but it was hard. I wouldn't say it was just very difficult. A lot of people, it was stressful for our team, people picking up things that they weren't responsible before. And we just had to, I think it affected our growth this year, to be really honest. I mean, I think we could be further this year.
A little bit,
yeah. But it was just a rough, yeah.
Rough first quarter, I think, for everyone.
Yeah.
So with that,
it was a difficult challenge.
Right. I mean, there's so many things that I want to go down, but so one, you said it affected the growth, and, a lot of times as business owners, we want growth. We want to see that that change in the business. But you didn't have as much as maybe you're expecting, or that you wanted, or that you planned for. How do you deal with the mental side of that?
That is a good question.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for you, but I've been at first it was such a big change. I mean, we were talking about, we worked together 24/7, and then all of a sudden we weren't together anymore. So I felt very out of the loop, and it was very weird for the first few months of an identity change too, because now I'm not in this role anymore that I've been in for so many years now, and I felt kind of useless, and it was really hard for me, honestly. I was I'm not ashamed by it. I was always asking him, what does the team think? I mean, do they still do they wonder? Not do they wonder about me, but are they okay with it? Are they disappointed? Do they still see value in me? All of these emotions, my self-worth, in doing that was really a challenge for me to deal with, and to say, no, I still am very valuable in this role now. Now I'm really more, because it's allowed me to be more focused on my children, which there was a big aspect there that they needed more attention from me that I wasn't able to give them, because I was constantly distracted by the business, and constantly exhausted and not feeling well. So I was completely drained and had nothing to give them. And so that wasn't fair to our kids. And then, so it was a real kind of emotional roller. I'm not a real emotional person, honestly, outwardly. And it was just a rough few months. And then it was also rough kind of figuring out our roles again. Okay, we were always together, always working together, and now we don't see each other. It was kind of we had to get to know each other in that way.
To answer your question, mentally, how you deal with feels like you're not growing. You know, maybe your numbers don't show that you're growing, but here, even though we had a lack of growth, we did have growth. So you have to look at other perspectives. So the perspective is we stayed the same. We actually will still end up better than last year, but with us in our lives and what was best for us in our decision is that would we be further along if Shauna had not stepped away? We don't know. We would be maybe worse. Maybe Shauna wouldn't be here because she didn't step away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what's important. So the perspective of the growth thing, yeah, she pulled out. We started the first quarter was terrible. It was really hard to be like, nope, just stay home. Just stay home. You'll be fine. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. We'll be okay. I think sometimes mentally, honestly, sometimes the only answer is just tell yourself, I'll be okay. I mean, yeah, maybe you're having a downturn year. Maybe your numbers aren't as good, but focus on what is good. Focus on the positive things, and know that there is a brighter day, if you will, and think about the good things, and then focus on, okay, how can I make it better? Don't let it bring you down, and then you're stuck in a rut, and it's going to get even worse.
We had major wins this year. And I think that's when we can't always think about, while yes, it takes dollars to run a business and dollars for growth, it isn't always about the dollars. We saw people on our team grow dramatically personally. They had to fill in for both Josh and I in different ways because he was picking up some of the things that I was doing. And so they had to then pick up some of the things that he was doing. And it gave opportunity for us to learn to delegate more. Like, we're much better delegators now because we had to. And then it gave them all the opportunity to learn new things and grow in those ways. And we really feel right now that the foundation that we have right now that we've worked on this year is going to, like, yeah, next year is going to be nuts, like amazing. Like, we have really put into place some amazing things this year.
I really, frankly, don't care what economy does. Really don't.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think
we're doing great.
I think we're at peace.
I love that answer.
We're at peace with what's happened, and it happened for a reason. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and like we talk about, our health is really is. Like, if all this, you know, success is such a funny word to me. And it really isn't about the dollars. The success is not about the dollars. For us, our children, their mental health, their physical health, their emotional health, our marriage and our relationship, the health of our employees or our team, how they're doing financially, how they're doing emotionally. Those have become such big, important things to us that, we got to pay the bills, and we've got to grow, but it's not. It's just not the number one thing.
Right. Well, and that's where, I mean, in my mind, success breaks down into two different sides, right? You've got the achievement side of it, which is the numbers and the profits and all those things that you can attain. That's the science. The other side of it is the fulfillment. And that's the art. It's the intangible. That's the things that you can't define by numbers. It's how you feel and what it is that lights you up. And I think everything that you shared is exactly that. And Josh, like, bang on and uncovering the wins that did exist, even if the numbers didn't show it. Building that strong foundation for what we can build on, saying, fuck it, I don't give a shit what happens with the economy. We're going to win regardless because we take care of people, and going back to the customer service side of things and just caring about people and loving up on customers and doing it in a way that nobody else in the market could even come close. Loving on your people in such a way that they're going to want to over deliver on that customer service as well. I think all of this message is amazing. And I definitely don't want to forget to recognize, Shauna, the self-worth battle of, I used to do all of these things and now I feel like I'm not doing as much. Man, like what a
She's
struggle.
doing just
Yeah, absolutely. She's doing incredible.
Yeah,
And yeah, get over that hump of telling yourself that story of what it is that you think you should be or what you ought to be doing versus what you are, and the importance of health. Like without it, you can't do anything. You can't take care of anyone else. It's why they say on the plane, put your mask on before you assist others.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other
And
part
it's just
too is
been
like
like,
the other part too that said that
go
delays
ahead.
are tripping me out. The one thing is it's the gap in the gain, right? It's a book by Dan Sullivan, and you guys have talked extensively about that, and which is good to know. And like it's a lot of times when people are they're going somewhere, they just look at the horizon. They're always trying to get to the horizon. You're driving, you're always trying to get to the horizon. You're always trying to get to the horizon. Well, guess what? You're never going to get the horizon, right? It's always going to keep moving. Pause and look back to see all the road that you've traveled, and that's really an important piece there. So and I love the success is not in the dollars, right? Because that goes back to full circle. Why are you guys doing what you do, right? And I think a lot of times people get mirrored in that I'm going to work. Well, you know what? Stop and pay attention to your kids. Maybe they don't want you to always work. They want you to spend time with them. So impactful shit.
We, you know, we went on a trip. Almost all of our vacations have to do with other people somehow, whether it's family or going with, one of our vendors or something takes us on a trip.
HVAC related.
And so we had this great opportunity to go to Cancun for 5 days, and we still like each other. We really like each other.
And it was
still.
in the middle.
Had a really great time. It was in
no fires.
End of August.
Staff just did amazing.
We went. We came back, and it was great. We didn't get phone calls while we were gone. We had, the team.
There was a couple, but it was nothing major.
Yeah, and the team ran everything and made money while we were gone, and it was wonderful.
Delegate, trust, and you'll have a lot more peace.
Yeah.
Just let go. It'll be all right. It'll be okay. It's pretty awesome.
That's a whole topic in and of itself.
Yeah, so much easier said than done, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I heard this great analogy of that. So it's kind of like the 80-20 rule. If you have something you want someone in your team to accomplish, you set them up at the beginning with 10%. You say, okay, here's what I'm wanting, here's what I'm looking for, here, give them direction. Let them complete 80% of it, and then you come back at the end of the 10% and you review it, you discuss it, you adjust it, and then you're done. And so I've really taken that into I've put that into practice and allowed people, I'm a control person. I like to control things. It's just
oh yeah.
So it's really hard. It's been hard for me to let go, but it's been a really good thing for me. But I found in that I do have I get to be involved in the front end and the back end, and so it's still the result that I want, but I don't have to do all that 80% in the middle.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, the 10-80-10 or 80-20, it's also knowing that, okay, well, they're 80% done by somebody else is 100% done by you, better than you. Right. And that's really the other part. Let's let them do it. They're never going to get to 100% of how you want to do that. But if you give them the tools, they're going to learn how to do it to 120% of what you do. Right. And that's really where that power comes in.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, look, I know that you guys are coming up close to where you guys got to run and deal with kids and family and all that stuff. But if you guys want to check them out, call on the double.com. If you guys do want to reach out and have a conversation with them, admin at callonthedouble.com are the two ways. I'm sure they can probably reach them on Facebook and all that stuff as well. So be sure to get in touch with them there if you do have questions. But before we go, we have one final question here for you. Well, technically it's two. So each of you got to kind of answer it. All right. Who wants to go first? Well, you know what? No, since Shauna went first on the random question, Josh, you get to go first on this one. So what is one question that you wish people would ask you more, but don't?
What is one question In what subject? In HVAC? In
Any
what
subject you choose.
In, what? You know, I'm gonna have to go to my interview process in this one. I say this for, I want people to ask me this because it's a good thing to reverberate in your mind of why you do what you do. And in my interview, I ask people, why do you work? And usually you get all kinds of answers of, well, to pay the bills, or to provide for my family, or so I can buy this house, or whatever it is. And I said, well, you know, those are good after effects of work, what you get from work. But why do you work? Well, let's break it down. The reason why I work is because there's a service being asked to be done. Just as, like you guys, there's a service being asked of you guys to promote the, you know, On Purpose and CHIIRP and Real Time 360. They're asking you to promote them. That's the service that you're providing. So why we work is that we're all in service to one another. And the quality of the work that you're doing is for that thing, is for a service. If someone didn't have heating and air conditioning, they wouldn't need me. There's not a service that's needed. So the reason that the question is, why do we work is we work to serve. And you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I serving? And how am I serving? And so the question to me is, you know, why do you serve the way that you serve? And it's just a good self-reflection, I guess, of how can I serve better? Because I truly believe we're all in service to one another. And the better we can learn to serve better, the better we're helping one another. So that's
No,
my
yeah, no, that's
question. I'm
good.
sorry.
Well, but you think about like how you can serve better. I mean, I would ask that question, but you know, it's never ending, right? You're always asking yourself that question: how can I serve better? How can I serve better? How can I serve better? It's constant, and it's always changing based off of the changing, you know, tides of the business, right? All right, Shauna, how about yourself? What is one question that you wish people would ask you more, but don't?
Oh, shoot, I thought it was going to be a different question. I would have been thinking about it. Golly, more.
Could be anything. You don't have to go deep like I did.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know. I guess more about. I'm so sorry. Like this is, yeah, you kind of, that's one of those questions that you're like,
What do you want people to ask you more?
But don't.
Don't ask you, or I don't know.
well, you know, I actually, this is funny. So I've been called this a lot the last few years, Mama Shauna. And because I know all these like natural health remedies and ways to heal yourself and not use pharmaceuticals or, you know, just natural ways. And so I would like people to ask me more about that, which they kind of do. They kind of come to me now. It's like, hey, I've got this thing. What would you do with that? So I give remedies all the time. And so they call me Mama Shauna. So I've got stuff in my pocket back here that you never know. I showed up to, I brought Victor's brother, y'all know,
Michael.
Mike Mueller. I don't know. Anyway, I brought him tea, this special tea, and it like helped him.
The Profit Rocket event.
Yeah.
And it helped him.
Yeah. I just always have something weird. Or people see it as weird, but it's usually like some old remedy that's been around for 100 years or 200, thousands of years, really. And
that's the stuff that works.
Yeah.
But
I think I surprise people sometimes with that stuff.
Well, who is it? Was it Aristotle that said, "Let food be thy medicine"?
Yeah.
That's right.
Right, like all the remedies exist. Pharmaceuticals just keep you sick.
That's a
Agreed.
whole
I mean, there's
other conversation.
and I have respect for Western medicine for certain
Mhm.
things for sure. But there's just times,
Absolutely.
a lot of times where there's just better options that aren't, aren't pharmaceutically.
Hey,
Mhm.
they're great for broken bones, babies, vomiting hospitals.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sorry.
Yep.
No.
Well, it kind of comes back to what you said, Josh,
I
right?
don't
About
care.
yeah. But it comes back to what you said, Josh, about being of service, right? And what's the motivation? Is it to get you healthy and back moving again, or is it to keep you sick and keep selling shit? So
Mhm.
True.
We could start a whole other thing.
whole other show.
We
All
might
on
just
that.
start the whole thing.
Right. Let's not and schedule that for later. So hey, look, I'll be the first to say thank you. Josh and Shauna nailed their names this time, got it right. Had to look
Took
down,
too
make
long
sure I
enough.
got their names. Yeah, fuck, I know. I don't know what was up with my mind today. Well, I mean, I have an idea, but I'll stop making excuses. I just fucked up.
It's okay. It's okay, tedious.
There we go. Perfect. So hey, look, this was a great episode, guys. I thank you so much for being open and raw and real on topics that are near and dear to you guys' heart. I think there's a lot of great information that was shared today that a lot of people are going to take a lot of information out of. So thank you guys so much for taking the time out to sit and chat with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've been looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, and until next time.
Cool.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Next time I will.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, two quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny bit of information out of this show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to introduce this to one person in your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.